Okay, well, this is thermodynamics. I'm Guy Olakin. How many of you are also in statics? Yeah, pretty much most people. And then how many are in intro? Anyone in 1020? Okay, yeah. So, um, great. So, I mean, I'm going to see a lot of you guys. For some reason, this semester, these back-to-back classes, they're making us walk from this room to another room in an hour, but it's good to get exercise. Um, so uh, all I'm going to do in my classes today is sort of lay out what the class is, show you where to find stuff, talk about the way I think about the class, that kind of thing. Um, actually, so obviously there's going to be a lot of similarities between what I'm going to say here and what I'm going to say at 11. But statics does have some different resources available and stuff. So I think today it'd be helpful to go to both of them. We'll finish a little early in both of them, I think. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to video all my lectures. And so it's helpful if you miss a class, and it's helpful if you something goes by you and you want a second chance at looking at it. The way I'm going to do it most classes today, I'm just going to be like looking at the syllabus, so I'm not going to need to write anything. But normally, I'm going to do my lectures like this. You know, so what I write up there, just treat it like it's the whiteboard. Take notes on, take notes on this, not this, because that's not useful in any way. But, once I start doing lectures, this is how I'm going to do it, and just treat it like it's the whiteboard. So then you'll have videos later you'll have access to PDFs of what I write, and you'll also have access to videos where you can see my cursor, hear my voice, so it's just basically like watching me at the whiteboard. Okay. Today, I'm just going to go through D2L and the syllabus. So to get to that stuff, go to the main Normandale page. And if you go to current students, D2L, log in there, and you'll see a page that looks something like this. Please contact me if you have any trouble getting into D2L, and I can help you get help with IT or whatever. But the main D2L page, this is a list of all the classes you're taking this semester. We're doing thermodynamics right now, so I'm going to click on this. And the first thing when you get into any one of my classes, in any D2L page, you'll see the announcements. And in my classes, anytime I change anything in D2L or give you an assignment or anything you need to know about exams coming up or whatever, there's going to be an announcement here. So just get in the habit of going to announcements. Hi. I'd say every day, just see if there's anything new there. And then today we're going to go through the syllabus. And so to find that, go to content. And there are a couple of things here. The first one I'll mention is this equation sheet that is going to have all the equations you need for this semester. I might, stuff might get added or whatever. If I change this sheet, I'll let you know. But right now, this is a pretty complete list of all the equations that you're going to need for the semester. And so this is also going to be the equation sheet that I give you on exams. So, you know, as you're doing homework and stuff, I think it would be a good idea to have this sitting next to you as your sheet of equations so you're comfortable with where everything is when it comes to the exams. Um,
Professor,
yes.
so you give us the equation
I
sheet?
will, yes, I will. That will be on the back page of every exam I give you. Yep.
Thank you.
And other than that, there's no notes or books or anything allowed in exams. Um, so the other thing in course information is the syllabus. That's what I'm going to spend most of the time on today. Um, but let's just talk about some of the other stuff you can find in content. Uh, so tables, we're going to use tables quite a bit, although I think more and more you can just. Um, so last year, AI would just give you the stuff that you need in tables, which was great, but sometimes it was wrong. I don't think that's a problem anymore. So we'll sort of see together how that works as the semester goes on. But these tables will just let you look up, like, okay, what's the like water that's at this pressure and this temperature, say, uh, what are the important properties that we need to use in our calculations? What's the internal energy, that kind of stuff. So um, that's what the tables will give you. Uh, and then the problems, these are what the daily assignments are going to come from. Um, there are solutions given to a lot of these. And I'll talk about how I think you should use that stuff when we get into the syllabus. And then here is this is from a previous semester, but you can, on any date you want, you can click on the notes and see a PDF of what I've written. And a lot of times that'll be all you need to get sort of a summary of what was going on, but you can also, what was that, 925? If you want to see the video of what I did that day, 925, there it is. So I'll just show you what these videos are like. So you just hear my voice. You see me writing on the thing. It's like watching the lecture. So, like I said, that'll be helpful to you if you ever miss a class. And it'll be helpful if you ever want to see part of a lecture again. And if you are interested in looking ahead, maybe skimming what the topics are that I cover in this class, what this class is kind of about, you can go to these old ones and check it out before I get to that topic, this class. Also, sometimes it can be helpful if you don't understand the way I'm explaining something this semester. It'll just be worded a little different in this previous semester, so that might help a little. Most of this stuff is going to be pretty similar semester to semester. Anybody have any questions about these resources in content?
What about the book?
The book, yeah. So there is no book required for this or any of my classes. So I feel like what I try to do is just as concisely as possible give you all the information that I expect you to know in this class. So it's a very condensed amount of material compared to a full textbook. And then the trade-off is I want you to understand, remember that stuff better than you would, 400 pages in a textbook. It's pretty hard to digest and remember all that. But just less than 3 hours a week of handwritten stuff. That's a lot more manageable to remember. So I'll talk about that as I go through. But really, what I would like you to do is just periodically go back and skim through all the notes. Remind yourself, like, oh yeah, at the top of this page, we talked about, um, what pressure is and that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's sort of what I think of. I try to condense down what I tell you, and the trade-off is I want you to spend your study time remembering that stuff, you know. Okay, any other questions about what we've done so far before I get into the syllabus? Yeah.
In your opinion, has the content in class changed over the time you made the old lecture notes and
These old ones from last semester,
oh, last
things will change a little bit, but not very much. I mean, 90+% of it'll be just the same. But every semester I make little tweaks to, I want new stuff introduced, or, stuff that didn't work that well last time, that kind of thing. Um, any other questions? Okay, so back to course information, and now we're going to go through the syllabus. Okay, this is thermodynamics, and this really is about, like, more than anything else. This is about how to exchange thermal energy with mechanical energy. In physics one, the type of energy that you talked about is mechanical energy. When objects move in a gravitational field, the speeds change, work is done, all that stuff. That's all mechanical energy. There's also thermal energy. That's the energy of molecules vibrating and being pushed apart as the temperature changes and that kind of thing. And they're very important applications where you use thermal energy to produce mechanical work. Any kind of power plant, any kind of engine works that way. And so we're going to talk about that stuff this semester. It's a 3-credit class. There's no lab or anything. This is my office. You can contact me by email, although I'll tell you in a second that there's a way I'd rather talk to you that seems to work better. There's a phone number. You can leave a message on my voicemail. I'm not usually sitting in my office, but if I'm there, I'll pick up the phone. I have a PhD in engineering mechanics and at the University of Minnesota. That department is a very mathy, kind of like applied math department. So that's kind of my area. The math defining. Hey, Joe.
yeah,
Good. Defining like the deformation of solid bodies as you apply loads to it, and the behavior of fluids. So like fluid dynamics, and then dynamics of bodies. That's what my PhD is in. And I also have a master's in biomedical engineering, by the way, like biomechanics, muscle and joint forces. So if anyone's interested in any of that kind of stuff, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. My office is downstairs next to the physics labs. You probably, won't need my office too much because I do my office hours in the tutoring center. But I'll get to that in a sec. The best way to contact me if you have questions is to use the instant messenger on D2L. So that is this thing. See where the cursor is? So every morning I'll look at those, and it just is a lot easier for me to avoid getting messages lost than with email, because I just have emails coming in from so many sources, but these are just coming in from students, so it's easier for me to keep track of them. Okay, my office hours are from 1 to 3 Tuesdays and Thursdays in the tutoring center. That's the glass room on this floor, sort of in the middle of the building. And I do my office hours there so that first, if a bunch of people are there at once, there's room for people to sit down. Our offices are pretty small. And then second, there's always seating. So if you want to come in during my office hours and just work on your assignments and stuff, even without a question, you can just come sit down at the table I'm at or nearby or whatever, work on your stuff. And then I'm there if you have any questions. It seems to work really well for people. And so if some of you were to get in the habit of doing that, say once a week or whatever, I think you'd really like it, having each other there to work with. And then I'm there if you have questions or if you want me to expand on anything. So consider doing that. The tutoring center is a really nice environment, nice seating, nice tables. The prerequisites are Chem 1061 and Calc 1. The materials that you need, a graphing calculator. In this class, we're not going to see eigenvalues and eigenvectors. But if you're looking for a new calculator, if you're thinking of buying one soon, you might as well get one that does eigenvalues and eigenvectors, I think, like a TI-89 does it, and TI Inspire does it. It's something that we're sort of right at the cutoff where, like, the classes you've taken before this in physics and stuff haven't relied much on eigenvalues and eigenvectors, but just about every class going forward is going to. So, of course, you can always do that stuff online. You can Google eigenvalue calculator and it'll pull up a bunch of sites that'll let you do those calculations. The main reason that you want a nice calculator is for tests, because you can't use the internet on tests, I have these recommended reference books listed. I really just list those primarily so that if your transfer institutions want to see a syllabus so they know what this course is compared to their courses, they have this to compare to the books that they use. And they're good books. But I would say these would be useful to you only as for future reference, like once this class is done. I wouldn't go to outside resources to understand the material in this class. The best way to get ready for tests and stuff in this class and homework in this class is just read and reread the notes that I give you. Like, I'm doing everything I can to tell you exactly what I want you to know, what I think you should know. So, okay, this one, Moran and Shapiro, that's a expensive full textbook. Sham's outlines, if you haven't seen those before, those are always a really nice thing. Just about every science and engineering class you'll take, there's a Sham's outline available that covers that material. And it's a paperback book that only costs $25 or something. And it has a ton of problems in it with worked solutions. It has short little summaries, not like full textbook chapters, but just real concise summaries of the topics that are useful once you've already taken the class. So I would recommend, I think, getting in the habit of just picking that up for every class you take. If you have somewhere to store all these books, it's just such a nice refresher, and they're really useful if you ever have to prepare for a test, like a comprehensive test, like the professional engineers exams and that kind of stuff. Okay, so what this class is about, like I said, it's a lot of energy transfer between thermal energy and mechanical energy. So we're going to talk about conservation of energy with thermal energy now included. Then we're going to talk about properties of materials and relationships between properties. And then we'll get into entropy. Have any of you had a class where you talked about entropy yet? In 1061, does that come up?
So yeah.
Okay. We'll go into a little more detail and what entropy is, and I find that to be sort of a fun uh, uh, topic. Like I would say, entropy is the closest that physics and stuff. Before you get into like quantum mechanics and relativity and stuff, entropy is about as close as you can get to kind of like philosophy, you know. Um, and there's some sort of subtle thinking to understand what entropy is about. And then we'll get into we'll use this for some very specific applications, a refrigeration cycle, a heat pump cycle, uh, engines, um, heat engines. These have a lot of things in common, but basically they all in some way use the fact that if you put a gas in an insulated container with a piston. So you have an insulated container, um, so that no, so that on its own the temperature can't increase for the. I shouldn't say that. What um, the temperature of the surroundings can't affect the temperature of the thing inside. Well, if you press this piston down, it makes the temperature of the gas inside this insulated cylinder increase. And if you pull the piston up, it makes the temperature of the gas inside this cylinder, this insulated cylinder, decrease. Okay. And so that's just a really fundamental fact about how gases behave. And you can use that fact to exchange thermal energy increases to doing work on the surroundings, and that's how diesel and any kind of internal combustion engine, it's using that principle. That's how refrigeration cycles in freezers and air conditioners, it uses that principle. Heat pumps, same thing. And we'll talk about gas mixtures, and then maybe we'll get to uh, combustion. And we're going to do a little bit of a detailed thing on like power plants and on power cycles, how you get power out of shoveling coal into a fire or nuclear reactors or things like that. Um, the grading for the class is basically just going to be 90, 80, 70, 60. I might curve it a little bit if the grades aren't, scores on tests aren't what I was hoping for them to be or whatever. But for the most part, it stays pretty close to 90, 80, 70, 60. Your grade for the class is going to be broken down into lecture quizzes, daily assignments, and weekly assignments that are going to be 10% of your grade each. And then the vast majority of your grade is going to be in-class tests. And I'm just going to go through and talk about what all these things are. So first is lecture quizzes. I said that, so I try to condense down what I tell you, the information that you're given, into a very manageable amount. And what I want you to do is remember that stuff pretty well. And just over the semester, just keep reading through your notes. Just keep trying to store this stuff in your head. And the way I'm going to encourage you to do that is frequently our Friday classes are going to end with like a 5 or 10 minute quiz where I just hand out some questions about stuff I've said in the lectures. And I just ask you to short answer, questions like write out the first law of thermodynamics, or what are the three parts what are the three things that make up the energy in a substance or something. It's just stuff that if you're repeatedly going back and skimming through your notes, then you just kind of have in your head. There's going to be, several of these. So uh, each one, I mean, they add up to 10% of your grade. So each individual quiz is has a pretty small effect on your grade, but they just add up to 10%. Um, there's not going to be any problem solving. It's just going to be short answer. Uh, everything, so the quizzes and the exams are always cumulative. So to get ready for these, you're always going to go back to the beginning of the class and skim through all of your notes up to that point. Um, so just remember that it's not just like from the last quiz to now, it's all the way back from the beginning to now. I'm just trying to get you to store all this stuff in your head as much as you can. Um, one thing that has changed for the people who've taken my classes before is I'm not going to drop uh, any of these from your grades anymore. So, um, all of your lecture quiz scores count, all your daily assignment scores count, all your weekly assignment scores count. So just be aware of that. Anybody have any questions about lecture quizzes? The daily assignments after each class, um, I'll give you some set of these to do, so in the announcements, it'll say like, um, do the questions in the introduction, 1 through 3 or something. And so then you'll go to problems, you'll go to introduction, and you'll do these 3 problems. Okay. Um, and once you finish going through the problems, or if you get stuck on one of the problems, you can go to these solutions. And let's see, I have solutions available for 1, 2, and 3. So there's solutions for all of those here. But it's important that you don't like open the solutions as you're working through the problems. You really need to work through the problems, try to figure this stuff out. You kind of have to just struggle with this material in order to solidify, what you're learning from it. So those solutions should really just be to check your work once you finish, to make sure that you're thinking about it right. Or if you get stuck, to just give yourself a little boost so you can get over that hump, finish the problem. Okay. Um, one important thing about these daily problems, they're worth a very small percent of your grade, so in that sense, they don't affect your grade very much. But everything in this class hinges on your understanding of these daily problems. Um, so, so in that sense, I mean, they're only worth 10% on your own. I'm basically just using 10% of your grade to encourage you to stay on track and turn stuff in on time and don't get behind. But without understanding those well, you can't do well on the exams. You can't do the weekly assignments well, that kind of stuff. Um, I only assign the daily problems once, but to do well in this class, you absolutely have to do those problems more than once each, So my intention is for you to revisit those every once in a while. Make sure that you still remember how to do those problems. Okay. One thing I tell people as we get close to the exams is I think the best way to prepare for exams is go back to the start of the daily problems and just look at number 1 and say, like, do I know how to do this problem? And if you're like, yeah, I tick, 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 and then, you get the answer that way, then don't spend a lot of time on that. You remember and understand well how to do that. But if you get to a problem, so say now you get to number 2 and it's a little more hazy how to approach that, then that's the one to spend a little time refreshing your memory on. Try to work through that problem. Give yourself a boost with the solution if you need help, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Any questions about the daily problems? Yeah.
How will we be making them?
Oh yeah, good question. It's you'll submit all that stuff online. So I do not have any assignments listed yet, but you'll go to assignments, um, and you'll see folders here for the different assignments. So like there'll be one that says, I have to look. I don't think I'm giving you an assignment at all for today in this class. In statics, I will, by the way. But so when I give you an assignment on Wednesday, it'll say assigned Wednesday, August 27th. And uh, what you'll do is you'll handwrite your solutions like you would for any kind of homework. And then you'll scan those, use a phone app to scan or a scanner, but to scan your homework and then submit a PDF to the folder in here.
No PDFs, no JPEGs.
Yeah, right. And so if anybody has any questions, wants help locating like an app that'll do that, like anyone with a iPhone, that's a built-in app in files. But anyone with any other kind of phone, let me know and we can find a free app that'll do that. And of course, you can always scan and get a PDF. But please, and don't submit it as like, say, 6 separate PDFs. There's always a way to put it into a single file that's 6 pages long, So just do that. Any other questions about daily problems? And then next is weekly problems. Weekly problems are very similar to the daily problems. I won't give as many of these. I don't really grade the daily problems. I'm just really checking off whether you've done them or not. It's just my way of keeping you on track. Weekly assignments are going to be similar types of problems, but I'm actually going to grade those as if they were test problems. And I won't give you solutions to those. And in class, like usually I'll start class meetings saying, anyone have any homework questions? And if you want me to elaborate on any of the daily problems, I'll always be happy to go through those problems, show you how to do it. The weekly assignments, I won't do that as much. As I think of it as more part of my evaluation of how you're understanding stuff. I'll give little hints if you are stuck and don't know where to go, but I won't go line by line through solutions to those. Any questions about weekly assignments?
On the weekly assignments, if we are in your statistics class and like know some of that stuff, are we able to apply that knowledge? Do you want it to be specifically from this class? So like the
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll find too many cases where it's helpful stuff from other classes, but yeah, I mean, you can always use anything I mean, that's great, I really like to think of all this stuff as just like maybe in a slightly different way than like a math class is or a physics class where that's kind of based on principles. I think in engineering classes, I like to think of it as like I'm just trying to put tools in your tool belt, and like ideally as you leave here, you're just like you're ready for when a certain question comes up, you're like, that's this one, and you know what I mean? So yeah, if you have a tool that works, use it. And then the big chunk of your grade is exams. I know that 70% of your grade is exams, and I know that makes some people nervous, but I will say that I make a major effort to not make the test feel like you're racing against the clock. I always try to write these tests for a smaller amount of time than you actually have to take them. So I really think you'll feel like you have time to like look the things over, take a deep breath, start a problem and realize it's wrong and restart and still feel like you have enough time to get it done. Um, Also, I my exam questions, I don't try to do like force you to do any new kinds of thinking about these problems than you did in the daily and weekly assignments. I think for the most part, if you've done and redone the daily problems, you'll see an exam question and say, like, oh, this is the same approach, the same thought process as that daily problem or whatever. And so I think that'll keep you from, I think that makes the exams feel like more manageable. It's really just like my way of testing what you've done up to that point. Um, this is a bummer, but it's just, I think, the reality now with AI. Uh, you have to do the tests in one sitting. You can't leave the room during the tests. So if there's like a bathroom emergency or something, we can figure out after the fact. We can be like, okay, I can give you a new version of that test or whatever. But any test that I grade, you just have to do in one sitting. So it's just how it is. But it's only a 50-minute class, so that's not too horrible. Then there's the mulligan for the exams. If you if so your fourth exam, no exam is worth more than any other exam. The final is worth the same as all the other ones. But if your final score is higher than any of your first three, it can replace the lowest of your first three scores. So that means that if you have a bad exam two, say, but then you do better on the final, say you get a 65 on exam two and a 92 on the final, then that 92 replaces the 65 on exam two. So that lower score doesn't have to count, and the final counts as itself, you know. So it's just a way to replace one test that goes bad. That just happens sometimes. Yep.
Professor, for the exams, you said they were cumulative. Like, will it be like half new and half like old?
Yeah.
In your thought?
Yeah. It probably, I think of exams as kind of like statistical sampling. Like it's not really like I'm going to squeeze every topic into an exam. It's more just like I try to pick out topics at random. And if you've prepared for everything, then you're less likely to come to a question that you haven't studied for. And I think probably the newer stuff is going to be 2/3 of the test, and the older stuff is going to be 1/3 until we get to the final. And then it's just all going to be even, you know. Um, Classes have different amounts of just building on each other. You know, some classes, like if you ask a question at the end of the class, it kind of requires understanding all the stuff leading up to it. This one might not be quite so much that way. It's kind of more like topic that are a little independent of each other. Um, okay, any questions about the exams or the makeup exams? Um, the dates for the exams are listed here. Uh, so look at your schedules. Let me know if there's a problem with any of these dates. Let me know as soon as you know, and we'll figure out work around a different time you can take it. Um, the cheating policy. So don't copy off of each other. And I guess at this point, like, cheating is pretty much just using AI. It's just so easy to use. Um, so uh, AI is never intended to be, I don't intend you to ever use AI in this class. So anytime you're using AI uh, to help with solutions of any kind, you're doing something that I don't want you to do. Um, I will, so somewhat I'm always going to grade exams and weekly assignments. Like, so I always need to see the steps that you're following to get to solutions. And if those steps are following drastically different thought processes than what I've talked about in this class, I'm going to give those low scores because I just really don't trust it. I expect you to more or less follow. I mean, I'm flexible, but I expect you to more or less follow thought process that I use in this class. If you're using stuff that I've never even mentioned in class, I'm not going to score. I'm not going to give that a lot of points. Anyways, yeah, there are consequences here for cheating if you're caught. So just don't do it. I don't think you'll feel like. I know sometimes you talk to people who take certain classes at the U of Minnesota and they're just like everyone cheats and the only way to get through it is to cheat and whatever. I don't know about those classes, but I know in my classes that's not true at all. Like study the way that I recommend, do the problems when they're assigned, and you'll do well in the class. Oh,
And
yeah,
Professor, so the like weekly challenges, they don't have the solution, but the daily ones do.
correct. Yeah,
And it's like step by step
the solutions.
for the daily.
Yeah, I don't think I have them in this class for every uh, problem. I think I only have them for selected problems. Let's look at one. But you can see, yeah, it's pretty detailed step-by-step solutions. But like for this one, I have a solution for number 1, number 3, number 4, number 5. So there'll be ones where you'll want solutions and they're not there. In those cases, if you get to a problem where you get stuck and there's no solution provided, just write that down to yourself and bring it up in class the next time I ask if anyone has any questions. And I'll spend the first 5 minutes of class going through that problem. Okay, so the idea is solutions are available for every problem. Some of them, most of them, those solutions are here online. The ones that aren't there, they're still available, but you have to ask me for them and I'll do them in class. That's sort of the way I intend it to work.
Professor, for the weekly one,
Mhm.
like after the assignment is done, can we like ask you like how like ask you for the solution and like office hours
Oh, yeah, for sure.
after the
Yes,
thingy
for
is,
sure.
like over?
Yeah, definitely. And even before they're due, like I said, I'd be happy to give little hints. If you're like, man, I figured I had to, use the first law of thermodynamics here, but now I'm stuck and I don't know how. Like, I'd be happy to say, like, okay, now consider this or whatever. I just won't go through step by step. But once they're turned in, I'd be happy to go through them. Any other questions? Yeah, that's right. And then the final exam will be 2 hours. Any other questions? Okay. Well, that's it for this class. Like I said, I don't think I have anything I don't think I have an assignment I can give you yet. So you get to ease into it in this class. In statics, there will be a review assignment today to get into. So, okay.
Professor, for the final exam, will it be like the hour small break and completely like second half hour, or will it be like the whole thing without interruptions?
It's always been the whole thing without interruptions, but that might be a good idea since I'm making you stay in class the whole time to break it into 2 parts. So maybe I'll think about that.
Professor did it. He's like the first part,
Yeah.
and then boom, you submit that.
Uh-huh.
And the second part, well, and then you got like a break.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Give a 10-minute break in the middle or something.
You use the thing where it's like sealed and all that.
The blue books?
The fancy one.
Yeah.
It was expensive.
Okay. Yeah, I probably will do that actually. I've never done it before, but that seems like a good idea.
People want to.
Yeah. Well, we won't do the blue books,
Well, not, yeah.
but yeah, maybe we'll break it into 2 independent parts. I'll think about that. I mean, like, I don't want people to feel like they can't go to the bathroom. Like, it's not communist Russia, but I also don't want people going and checking AI because that's not good. Okay, see you. We have a long hike to the next class.